Does that come with kind of pressure or is it pride?
I would say more pride. I think it depends how you look at it. And I try to take it in with as much gratitude as I possibly can, because I know not a lot of players are able to have this platform, and it's a blessing to have this support behind me. So yeah, I won't say that it comes without any pressure at all. But what I do is I just try to focus on what I need to do on court, how I can work to the best of my ability, and I know that I'll perform to the best that I can. Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey went after Alex Eala publicly, and that was the biggest mistake she made all year, because Alex did not call a publicist, did not issue a carefully worded statement, and did not stay quiet. She responded in 8 words. 8. And those 8 words broke the internet and left Oprah's camp completely silent. Here is exactly what happened. Do you think Alex Eala handled this perfectly, or did she go too far? Drop your honest opinion in the comments right now. Let's set the scene, because context matters here, and the full picture is more interesting than the headlines.
It just, everything clicked after that. And I look back at that moment and I just think, wow, like it was insane. And it's crazy to believe that actually happened.
Alex Eala has been having a moment. Not the kind of moment where someone gets lucky with one viral post and disappears 2 weeks later. The kind of moment that builds and builds until brands start calling, stadiums start selling out, and people who had never watched a tennis match in their lives suddenly know your name. She is a Rafa Nadal Academy product. She left the Philippines as a teenager, flew to Spain, and ground her way through one of the most demanding tennis development programs in the world, Junior Grand Slam title, ITF Circuit Grind. Qualifying rounds in blistering heat far from home. Ranking points earned one brutal match at a time. And somewhere in the middle of all that, she also became a cultural phenomenon across Southeast Asia and well beyond. Her matches are selling out. Sponsors are lined up. Magazines want her on covers. A teenager in Manila who never cared about tennis is suddenly watching because Alex Eala makes the sport feel like it belongs to them. That is not a small thing. That is exactly the kind of crossover appeal that sports organizations spend hundreds of millions trying to manufacture and almost never successfully do. So naturally, someone decided this needed to be torn down. Oprah Winfrey posted a public critique of Alex Eala that nobody saw coming and absolutely nobody asked for. The post was not gentle. It was not a nuanced media observation. It read like a prepared takedown. Oprah wrote that the buzz around Alex was not about exceptional tennis talent, but about image, viral personality, and spectacle. She called Alex a symbol of distraction and emotional chaos, and said that history remembers depth, not noise. Read that again slowly. Depth, not noise. About a young woman who left her home country as a teenager, trained on clay courts in Spain while homesick and financially uncertain, and clawed her way into professional tennis without shortcuts or safety nets. Oprah called that noise. The internet did not take it quietly. Fan bases collided. Sports journalists weighed in. Entertainment writers had takes. Former athletes started picking sides. Everyone was watching to see what Alex would do next, because that is the moment that defines a person, not the attack, the response. A lot of young athletes in that position fold. They issue a statement written by lawyers that says nothing, offends no one, and makes the whole thing disappear as quietly as possible. The PR machine runs its standard play. You protect the brand, you avoid conflict with powerful people, and you wait for the news cycle to move on. Alex Eala did not do any of that. She responded immediately, in her own words, with no committee and no filter. She wrote that she has never chased fame, that the attention around her comes from years of struggle, hard work, community efforts, and real people who see themselves in her journey. She said that while Oprah focused on inspiring audiences, she focused on saving dreams, lifting up the broken, and proving that opportunity is real, no matter where you come from. She said, being seen is not a crime, that it is what happens when you speak from your scars and try to turn pain into purpose. And then she closed it with 8 words that the entire internet immediately memorized. My legacy is built on courts, not couches. That line landed like a serve at 130 miles per hour into an empty box. Clean, unturnable, final. In 8 words, Alex drew the sharpest possible contrast between their two worlds. Oprah has spent decades building wealth and influence by sitting across from other people, listening to their stories, and then framing those stories for a television audience. That is a legitimate and powerful thing to do. Nobody is pretending otherwise. But there is a fundamental difference between talking about struggle from a studio couch and actually living it on hard courts far from home with a racket in your hand and a ranking that does not care about your feelings. Alex did not say Oprah's work was worthless. She said her own work happened somewhere else. And she said it in a way that was precise, confident, and completely undeniable. The fallout was immediate. Fellow players started liking the post, not commenting because athletes are trained to be careful, but liking, which in the current media environment is its own kind of statement. Former champions who spent years dealing with the same tired narrative that a young woman's marketability somehow undermines her athletic credibility were openly supportive. The hashtag pain into purpose started trending worldwide and completely hijacked the conversation Oprah had tried to start. Oprah's camp went quiet. No response, no clarification, no follow-up, just silence. And that silence is actually very loud when you think about it. Because Oprah Winfrey is not someone who goes quiet when challenged. She has been in the public eye for decades and has handled far bigger controversies with eloquence and speed. The fact that her team chose not to respond suggests one of two things. Either they genuinely had no good answer to those 8 words, or they ran the math on Eala's fanbase and decided that poking it further was not a fight worth having. Either way, it tells you something. Now, let's talk about why Oprah's original post hit the nerve it hit, because it did not land in a vacuum. It landed in the middle of a very old and very exhausting conversation about young female athletes and what they are allowed to be. This script has been recycled for decades. Anna Kournikova was one of the best doubles players in the world and a genuine top 10 singles competitor. And the media spent the late 90s reducing her to her looks and using her commercial success as evidence that she was not serious. Maria Sharapova had to spend her entire career defending the idea that winning 5 Grand Slams was real and not somehow cancelled out by being recognizable. Emma Raducanu won the US Open without dropping a single set across qualifying and the main draw, one of the most extraordinary athletic achievements in recent sports history. And the moment she signed brand deals, the media started questioning her commitment to the sport. The pattern is always the same. Young woman becomes successful. A young woman also becomes marketable. Someone suggests the marketability is proof that the success is not authentic. The athlete is forced to defend the thing that should not need defending. Oprah's post fit this pattern so precisely that it almost felt like a template was used. Alex's viral personality is a distraction. Her spectacle replaces substance. Being everywhere is not the same as mattering. What Oprah missed, and this is the part that her generation of media gatekeepers consistently misses, is that the playbook changed completely. The old model worked like this. You had a story, a publicist pitched it to a producer, an executive approved it, Oprah invited you to her couch, and then you had a platform. The couch was the gateway. The couch was the validator. If Oprah or someone like her decided your story was worth telling, it got told. If not, it disappeared. Eala does not need a couch. She points a camera at her face, speaks from her actual experience, and posts to millions of people who have been waiting for exactly that voice, and the platform builds itself. No executive approval required. No gatekeeping, no couch. When Alex talks about saving dreams and lifting the broken, she is not speaking in motivational poster language. She is describing what it looks like when a young girl from a developing country with limited resources watches someone who looks like her competing at the highest level of an expensive, predominantly white, predominantly wealthy sport and thinks, maybe that is possible for me too. That is not noise. That is one of the most meaningful things sports can do. The fact that it also generates followers and sponsorships is not a contradiction. It is the point. Because those followers and sponsorships give Alex the financial independence and the leverage to keep doing it on her own terms rather than depending entirely on prize money and the goodwill of tournament organizers. And here is the part that makes Oprah's critique particularly ironic. Oprah Winfrey's entire career was built on exactly this principle. She told her own story. She spoke from her own pain. She built a platform that connected with people who had never seen themselves represented in mainstream media. She turned personal struggle into cultural influence and financial power. That is not a criticism of Oprah. That is a description of her genius. But apparently that formula only works when Oprah approves of the person using it. The WTA is going through a transition right now that requires exactly what Eala brings. Serena Williams retired and left a gap that no single player can fill alone. The tour needs a constellation of stars who can each capture different audiences, different generations, and different cultures. Aryna Sabalenka dominates on court. Coco Gauff carries her own cultural weight. Iga Swiatek are statistically relentless, but none of them are currently generating the kind of crossover attention in Southeast Asia, where hundreds of millions of potential new tennis fans live, that Alex is generating. The sport does not need its rising players to be quiet, humble, and invisible off the court to prove they are serious. It needs them to be exactly what Alex is: compelling, authentic, connected to communities that traditional sports media has ignored for a long time. There is a teenager in Manila right now who is watching Eala and thinking about picking up a racket for the first time. That teenager is not going to be reached by traditional tennis broadcasting. They are not watching Wimbledon coverage on cable television. They are on their phone watching Alex's posts, feeling like the sport is suddenly something that could belong to them. That is not a distraction from tennis. That is the future of tennis. Oprah, of all people, should understand what it means to be the first person who looked like you in a space that was not built for you. She should understand what it does to a community when someone from within that community rises to visible success in a world that historically kept the door closed. She built an empire on that understanding. And yet somehow when Eala does it in real time on her own terms with her own phone and her own voice, the verdict is that she is producing noise. Back to those 8 words because they deserve one more look. My legacy is built on courts, not couches. It is not angry. It does not name-call. It does not exaggerate or perform outrage. It simply states a fact with total clarity. Alex knows what her work is, where it happens, and what it costs. And she is not interested in having that work evaluated by someone who has never had to return a 100 miles per hour serve in the deciding set of a qualifying match while carrying the expectations of an entire nation on her shoulders. The court does not care about your television ratings. It does not care about your production budget or your magazine covers or your daytime Emmy Awards. The court only cares about whether you can compete. And Eala has spent years proving repeatedly that she can. Oprah's silence since those 8 words landed has lasted longer than most people expected. The woman who has never been short of words, who built a career on knowing exactly what to say and when to say it, appears to have concluded that there is no good follow-up to courts, not couches. And honestly, that might be the most telling thing about this entire situation. Because when a 20-something tennis player from the Philippines leaves one of the most powerful media personalities in the world with nothing to say, that is not noise. That is a statement. Eala walked into a fight she did not start and ended it in 8 words. Whether you think Oprah was out of line or just honest, one thing is clear. Alex is not someone who shrinks under pressure on the court or off it. Hit like if you enjoyed this and subscribe so you never miss a video like this.